Doctors want heavy-handed cops charged. NDA calls on government to address critical drug shortage. And TIPNG to have 400 local volunteers as election observers.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Wednesday's news. Rogue police officers who beat a young doctor during his residency at the Port Moresby General Hospital may cause a doctors' strike in the nation's capital. The National Doctors Association says the police hierarchy has till Friday to find out which officers were responsible for the beating and to have them charged and removed from the force. The beating of Dr. Newman Barry has sent shockwaves throughout the country. Bethany Harriman with this report.
Actions of some police officers could delay the treatment of patients seeking it through Port Moresby's hospitals if the police hierarchy doesn't charge and remove them before Friday. A group of very senior doctors from the National Doctors Association gathered this afternoon with Dr. Newman Barry, who was beaten by police last week Wednesday. They've put up an ultimatum that demands and holds the police hierarchy accountable for the actions of a few policemen tarnishing the reputation of the Papua New Guinea Royal Constabulary.
And if they're not being charged, then we will then by Friday we will go on a emergency drive, meaning that emergency care will be provided, but the rest no. That's what we mean.
For POM and NCDC?
Yes, only for POM and NCDC. Health, yeah.
Papua New Guinea doctors nationwide have reached a general consensus and collectively spoken through their association. They want the cops responsible charged and removed from the police force in 48 hours. The doctors also released an 8-page document highlighting the lack of training police officers receive in 6 months and the need for a signed MOU with the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary.
Now it's come to a stage where we cannot just keep on letting policemen to stay upright. You know, police have been trained. 6 months of training to coming out is not enough. All right, I think 6 months training is not good enough. School of Medicine, the doctors there, if the young doctor there sitting 2 years is now into his second year of training, and it is taken a doctor 7 years of training.
Dr. Newman Barry was severely beaten by police officers allegedly under the influence of alcohol. He says he was dropping off his sister. He was not drunk. The policemen accused him of dropping off criminals and started to beat him.
I am now receiving treatment. I will undergo a specialist assessment of my right ear, which I still have some ringing sounds going on. I cannot hear well. Yep. My left ear is okay. My right eye is the swelling is subsiding now.
The beating of Dr. Barry comes at the most crucial time. With polling just around the corner, the police force have been entrusted by the government to maintain public safety. There has been a public outcry on social media demanding an action from the Police Commissioner Gary Baki and the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
The National Doctors Association says the government needs to address the drug shortage problem in the country. Speaking at a news conference today, the president says there is a critical shortage of drugs and the government needs to address it immediately. This follows reports from health facilities in the country of low supplies of drugs and other medical consumables.
Doctors say they have been in touch with members throughout the country who are all voicing the same concerns about the lack of medical drugs and supplies.
We have in Kuniawa, we have in Hagen, we have in Mendi, we have in Tare, Hanga province, right? And right here at PMGH, which is the biggest, hospital in the country, we have manpower on the ground, but we have short of drugs. Right, drugs and medicines.
These concerns were raised by the doctors over a month ago.
Patients are dying because there is no medicines. We cannot lie to the people of this country. Right? We cannot pretend.
In a statement yesterday, Health Secretary Pasco Kase basically said the Health Department's procurement process is not to blame for this situation, but he didn't say what the reasons were. However, according to the doctors, there are three main reasons why the country is facing medical supply shortages. The first reason, they say, is the expired contract between the PNG government and the pharmaceutical company that supplies medicines.
In the next 12 months, they will be looking for a tender process and looking for drugs to come into the country while the patients dying now.
Secondly, the hospitals are not getting the allocated funding. It's not going through. They're getting in just a little bit only. Some were supposed to get $1 million, they're only getting 100,000 or 50,000. Okay. And thirdly, they used to survive on some little bit of internal revenue. Under the trial care, those internal revenue have been chopped off.
Today, the Health Minister, Michael Malabag, was not able to comment on this issue, especially about the critical shortage of drug and medical supplies at Mount Hagen General Hospital. He directed these queries to the Health Secretary. The doctors say, as an association, they are demanding that the government fix this problem. Their demands include expediting the tendering process for a new pharmaceutical contractor within a month. All hospitals and provincial health authorities must receive their due funding within 2 weeks. NDOH and government to allow for interim hospital fee charges within 2 weeks, and free healthcare policy must be reviewed by the new administration. If these demands are not met, there will be industrial action. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
EMTV News has sent questions regarding the drug shortage and the NDA's concerns to the Prime Minister's office, and we understand that the government will be making a statement on it in the coming days. Meanwhile, Clement Totavun, the Health Secretary for the autonomous Bougainville government, says the contractor engaged by the National Health Department, LD Logistics, has not improved on its distribution of medical supplies in the area.
That they have been supplying some of the drugs to some facilities in Buka in North Bougainville, but they need to also distribute to all parts of the region. And one of the concerns that I would like to raise here is that the distributor of drugs have to distribute the medicines to the doorsteps of the health facilities, not go and leave it somewhere and ask our team to deliver. No. The contractor has been engaged to distribute the medicine right to the doorsteps of the health facilities, and I'd like to see that happen.
Mainland Holdings is looking at slashing its import costs by half as it looks for ways to maintain its farming businesses in the face of tough economic times. Today, the company harvested sorghum planted on its farms. They aim to increase planting and reduce wheat imports used to make chicken feed.
This is the first of a series of sorghum plantings the company hopes to make over the next 10 years. It is part of a strategy to reduce the high cost of imports that currently make up a significant part of mainland's expenditure. Chief Executive David Alcock says the company is looking at a 50% cut in its import costs.
So if we can get the crops grown, then per tonne, we believe we can save 50% of the cost of bringing it in from Australia.
Like other companies, Mainland Holdings has also been struggling with the foreign exchange crisis. Its ability to muster enough foreign currency to pay for imports has been hampered by restrictions, but this hasn't dampened efforts to look at domestic solutions.
What happened was we had the challenge to use our land more to try and reduce the cost of our operations, and a number of people had said, how can Mainland Holdings use our land better?
Despite the pinch of the financial crisis, Mainland Holdings continues to post important profits. And it's a far cry from where the company was 7 years ago before a NAS fund financial bailout.
About a decade ago, Mainland Holdings was struggling and on the verge of bankruptcy. It took some rethinking by the board on the strategic direction the company was taking. Today, Chairman William Lamour said he's looking forward to bigger and better results.
There's a lot of work had been done over the last 7 years, and more particularly in the last 5 years, where we've done the full transformation of our business from a non-performing business to now a very, very thriving business.
Over the next 5 years, Mainland Holdings hopes to engage with local landowners to use their land to increase sorghum and soybean production. Scott White, National MTV News, Leh.
Medang police are concerned over the increase in the smuggling of marijuana in and out of the province. Provincial Police Commander Jacob Singura says the illicit drug trade is an ongoing problem for them because of the road connections. Singura's comment follows a recent incident where a woman was caught at the Medang Airport terminal trying to smuggle out 5 kilograms of marijuana last month.
Medang is one of the maritime provinces. It is connected to Morobe and the other Highlands provinces via the Highlands Highway. The coastal highway runs along the north coast. It goes as far as Awar and the Ramu River through the Bogia district. This road connection makes it easy for people to bring in drugs and guns.
Again, it's an ongoing problem because of the accessibility through the road network, connection through road. So we have had experiences of that.
Last month, this woman was caught at the Medang Airport terminal by a security guard. She was trying to board a flight to Manus. Security guards were conducting checks of the suspect's carry-on luggage at the checkpoint when the drugs were found. 10 packets of marijuana weighing 5 kilograms. The drugs were covered among the vegetables bound for Manus. She was taken into police custody where she was arrested and charged.
That trend of smuggling of drugs and even arms through the Medang borders and out to the Highlands provinces, through also from the Highlands provinces into Medang, and also like guns coming in from outside Medang into Medang and out to the Highlands provinces. Yes, that that activity, that trade is still a concern for all of us.
In another incident last year, police intercepted a boat leaving for Manus where 3 men were found trying to smuggle marijuana out of the province. The skipper of the boat and 2 others were charged for being in possession of drugs and firearm. They also had with them a large sum of money. This concern is one of the many problems Medang police is facing. The constant law and order problem also puts a strain on police manpower. And with the polling period just 17 days away, the total police strength of 300 is not enough. Mata Luis, National MTV News, Medang.
The Waigani National Court has found the declaration of Komo Magarima MP Francis Potape as Hela governor in 2016 null and void. The ruling made by Justice Colin McKyle was based on grounds that the procedure used in electing Potape was illegal. This means Hela province will be without a governor until the return of writs. Yesterday, MTV News ran a story in which it was stated that Swire Shipping was the owner of the Kyunga Chief, a vessel banned from Australian ports by the Australian Maritime Safety Authority. The ownership of the vessel stated was incorrect, and MTV sincerely apologizes for any inconveniences caused. Flights into Mount Hagen suspended this afternoon due to unrest, and more on the national general election after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Chairman of the Interdepartmental Election Committee, Isaac Lupari, announced today that state lawyers through the Department of Justice and Attorney General will be stationed in each province during the polling and counting period to provide legal advice to the PNG Electoral Commission. Mr. Lupari said this decision was made to ensure legal advice is provided on the spot and in a timely manner, and more importantly to save millions of kina spent on private lawyers. He said private lawyers cost the state between 4,000 to 7,000 kina a day for legal advice, while state lawyers cost 600 a day for the same professional service. This will save the state 3,000 to 6,000 kina a day. Mr. Lupari said this is part of the bigger exercise undertaken by this government under Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to stop excessive wastage and uncontrolled spending in the public sector. 400 local volunteers have registered under Transparency International (PNG) to observe the 2017 national election across the country. These observers will witness polling and report on gross abuse on corruption, if any, in the voting process. TIPNG staff conducted the 2017 national election observers training yesterday for the Upper Highlands in Mount Hagen.
The TIPNG observers will report to the PNG Electoral Commission any abuses of the election process. If the report is found to be true, the Electoral Commission may declare the election in an electorate or province failed. TIPNG, as a member of the Election Advisory Committee, can recommend to the committee, based on the observer's report, that the election in an electorate was not free and fair and should therefore be declared failed. The Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary will play a major role, including PNG Defence Force and the Correctional Service, to ensure the election is free and fair. At the observers training in Mount Hagen, the RPNGC legal officer for the Highlands region, John Sagom, gave a brief rundown of the kind of work the security force will be doing during this election. The observers were also told to act and work together with the police to ensure their reporting is accurate.
Let us all work together to ensure that we don't have any failed elections. Why do we have failed elections, ladies and gentlemen? Why? Maybe we could say corruption is involved. That's why we will have failed elections. Otherwise, there won't be any failed elections.
TIPNG has registered these volunteer observers to maintain the integrity of the elections. TIPNG started observing the national elections in 2007 to encourage a better and more transparent process. The Ombudsman Commission for the first time will observe the 2017 national election from the polling to the declaration of candidates. OC's Highlands Regional Manager Bill Kappen has warned the observers and voters about bribery and the damage it can cause to the integrity of the polls.
But this now, time shall go some process of election now, I shall go in. He got in some like reverse account time. Can you say? Olenda reverse some Olenda run outside and go cigar and do by Gino and Ginana. This land influencing conscience law, the calling them to manage.
The observers will be visiting polling areas to collect data on whether basic electoral rights are being protected and if procedures are being followed. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Air Niugini has suspended its afternoon flight PX886 to Mount Hagen today due to unrest. The airline is closely monitoring the situation and will advise when it should resume services. They also announced that their Link PNG services to Wapinamanda will be temporarily suspended effective this Saturday, June 10, due to obstruction of trees at the runway. Link PNG operates 5 weekly flights into Wapinamanda daily, except for Mondays and Fridays. The Morobe Electoral Commission has received 5 vehicles that will assist with the election operations in the province this year. The vehicles arrived in Leh with 23 others that will be sent to the Highlands region and the Medang province. The vehicles were bought by the Chinese government through China Aid.
28 vehicles were cleared from the wharf yesterday and are now ready to be used in preparations for the elections.
These are vehicles out of the 133 that have been donated by China Aid.
20 of these vehicles will be sent to the Highlands region, 3 to Medang, leaving 5 in the Morobe province.
3 will be distributed to the other electorates in the province, mostly Huon Gulf, Nawai and Leh.
With this assistance, we will cut down on much of the funds which usually chewed up by higher vehicles.
Although these vehicles will assist election operations in urban Morobe, the challenge still lies in ensuring that the elections are delivered to the remote parts of the province, a difficulty that has been faced in the past with the province's vast area and difficult terrain.
It's going to be a real challenge along areas like Kabum, Menemia, Tewaisiasi, where planted time Plabanidi.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says roads are the key to economic development. Yesterday, he promised the people of Wiabo in the Obura Wanenara district of Eastern Highlands province to complete building their road. He said the government's priority is that the rural population has access to roads for the delivery of services such as health and education.
The Prime Minister was campaigning for his Obura Wanenara candidate John Boito in Wiabo, urging the people to vote him in so that he can continue building the road from where it was left.
People blow me to play no come lo carrier, me to play no come. Me to play come lo helicopter. Governor blow me, madam governor blow me, you stop blow here. You go back on this place here. Please help me. Help me. Prime Minister, help me.
He promised the people of Wiabo that the government would complete the road it has been building for the last 5 years.
Now 20 million, the million will come inside over one another, the Diablo country. Now why not place innocents? Yes. And there's a question you must ask it. You must call slow him down, you will walk in this work must continue to solve. Walk by you not come up, suppose later you will place in a group. Now, member of the minister, he goes stop the one of parliament. No, me play no look at me one blood first plan, no, minister work, corporate one time government blow you me. Go stop the plan or something is stop.
Mr. O'Neill also pledged funding upon seeing classrooms and assured them that materials would reach the school in coming weeks.
One plus something me look him also planning, good blood, or smarty, no teacher working, good blood work inside the school blow you mean? But you must throw him this layer.
While addressing the locals, he said much negativity has been leveled against his government, but he urged the people to see that action spoke louder than words. The Prime Minister was accompanied by his People's National Congress party candidates, including Eastern Highlands Governor Julie Soso, Ungai Bena MP Benny Allen, and Gumini MP Nick Kuman. The PNC team also visited Okapa on their campaign trail. Deli Waigeno, National, EMTV News.
Sitting Oro Governor and People's Movement for Change party leader Gary Juffa nominated 2 candidates under his party on Monday in Mount Hagen. Lucas Kiap was endorsed for the Western Highlands regional seat and Nickens Tip for Day Open. Party President Dilu Okuk was also present to witness the endorsement.
So far, 25 candidates were endorsed under the People's Movement for Change party throughout Papua New Guinea. The party's 3 main policies are land, resource and PNG's future. Juffa told those who gathered yesterday at the Queen Elizabeth Park in Mount Hagen that his party is on a campaign trail, educating voters on his party's policies.
Me Samuel feeling. Me Samuel one kind heavy blow people blow you me because me too me been going slow heavy.
The People's Movement for Change party was formed in 2012 by some young professionals and like-minded people to fight against corruption. Lucas Kiap, a petroleum engineer, quit his job and contested for Western Highlands Regional. His 2 main policies are to transform the well-being and health of the people, and he has a 30-year strategic plan to change Western Highlands Province.
Pidi houses on Asian folk will make him stuff, or pidi houses on making stuff, and more not want the city also make him our pidi houses. But me, Lucas Kiap, me engineer, you me can change him Western Highlands, but make him all good road, make him all good all buildings.
Another candidate endorsed was Nickens Tip, a former journalist who is standing for Day Open. His 3 main policies are to revive coffee in Day electorate, export cash crops, and develop livestock.
Government and responsibility of government to facilitate the market law on mama no place. So number 2 policy, I mean look no kai. Or you can buy more kai, you can sell him out.
Party President Dilu Okuk, son of former Deputy Prime Minister Seyambake Okuk, believes that PMFC will improve the standard of quality of food, education and such others.
We are representative of people. We like some money look and get man. No good me kissing money now and passing most to me. The time is in power and talk for me penny man. Now this is something will come up. Or party got money now look come to you. You must say us and this money and come to post floor.
Vasinata Yama, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
Mosby Northeast candidate Carl Okuk has called for better health services in the country. Campaigning at 9 Mile in Port Moresby, he said women are dying especially from cancer because of the lack of treatment for patients.
Mosby Northeast candidate Carl Okuk said building expensive roads and infrastructures will not address people's issues. Okuk stressed that people, especially mothers, have been dying because of a lack of cancer treatment services in the country. Recently, health facilities in Mount Hagen and Engau have been put under pressure due to shortages in medical drugs and consumables to treat patients. Mr. Okuk said this is something Papua New Guineans must consider and vote responsible leaders who can deliver services in health, education and roads.
Unnecessary expensive borrowing, no good investment in health services, school, road. All this time, talk, pixel, newspaper, TV, can't get something. But no ground, you look on the sense or no God.
Okuk said people's issues are priorities he will address if voted into parliament. Eric Arupma, National MTV News.
A candidate contesting the Kerawagi seat in Simbu has been declared insolvent by the National Court in Port Moresby. The court found Barry Palmer guilty of failing to pay the taxed costs of nearly 300,000 kina following an election petition against sitting MP Camillus Dangima. Palmer was declared bankrupt after being financially incapable of meeting his liabilities.
The case began after the 2012 national elections. Three losing candidates for the Kerawagi seat, Peter Kuman Gumawau and Barry Palmer, filed separate election petitions against Defendants Electoral Commission and sitting MP Camillus Dagma. However, Kuman and Guma withdrew the case while Barry Palmer proceeded all the way to a trial. For nearly 5 years, the case went in and out of the court until June 1st, 2017, where a decision was made against Barry Palmer.
And the court adjudged or declared Barry Palmer insolvent. And legally speaking, when someone is declared insolvent, you're legally non-existent.
Under a process called taxation, Barry Palmer was ordered by the court to pay 275,119 kina to the sitting MP. He failed to file a review within 7 days, and Scobrie and Associate lawyers filed a debtor's summons on March 21st against him.
The result of that decision is that is declared insolvent now, so is as per the law, section 103 of the Constitution, his candidacy is nullified. He's no longer a candidate now.
The National Court ruling is so far the first for this country since independence for a candidate to be declared insolvent on the eve of polling.
The Electoral Commission has two issues to address. First is that he is a current candidate, official candidate, contesting. So how would the Electoral Commission approach this one? It's a first of its kind.
The Office of the Electoral Commission is aware of the case and will be making a statement on it shortly. Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307 $0.4057 Australian dollars, $0.2691 euro, and 33.26 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa, and copra closed the day lower. Crude oil and copper closed lower, while palm oil closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 47.81 points lower, the ASX closed at 0.28 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 0.28 points lower. Stories making headlines overseas when we return, including the latest on the terror attack in London and fighting ISIS in Syria. Stay with us for details. Welcome back. Turning overseas, it's been revealed intelligence agencies were warned about the third man who carried out the weekend's terror attack in London. Today he was named as 22-year-old Yusuf Zagba of Morocco and Italy.
The faces of a self-appointed death squad. We now know the identities of all three men who went on a killing spree in London on Saturday night. Today, police naming this man, Yusuf Zagba, as the third member of the gang. Zagba was born in Fez in Morocco to a Moroccan father and Italian mother. 22 years old, he recently moved to East London where he worked in a restaurant. But last year, he was stopped by security forces at Bologna airport in Italy on suspicion of trying to make his way to fight in Syria, literature relating to so-called Islamic State in his bag. Placed on the Italian terror watch list, UK police today said neither they nor MI5 regarded him as a person of interest. In Italy, a prosecutor claimed today the British authorities had been tipped off about Zagba, who lived in this house in Bologna. One of his relatives said he'd hoped to find a job in the UK.
He went to London. He was away for 2 or 3 months, then he came back. He was here for a month, and then he told his mum, I'm leaving because here there's nothing, and in London I can work.
We will look at how the processes were followed, what they did. They will be wanting to look at that because they will want to learn lessons for the future if there are those lessons to be learned.
But appeared in this Channel 4 documentary on radical Islamists last year, linking him to extremist preacher Anjem Chowdhury, now in jail for encouraging support for so-called Islamic State. Despite this, security service interest in him was scaled down.
2 more of the victims have been named from Sunday's attack on London Bridge. Among the dead were 2 Australian women. Meanwhile, Britain came to a halt today for a minute's silence to remember those affected.
A time to remember, a time to reflect on an attack at the heart of London. Time to stand together on the streets where it happened. The ambulance crews who fought so hard to save lives, London's mayor at their side. Manchester still raw from the violence inflicted here just 2 weeks ago. And beyond.
Fighters battling to take back Syria from ISIS have entered the outskirts of the group's self-proclaimed capital Raqqa for the first time. It signals a new stage of the fight as the US-backed forces now attack the city from the east, west and north.
The groundwork to capture Raqqa from the Islamic State group has been underway for months. Kurdish-led forces backed by the US have been advancing towards the city and sealing off access routes. And now, with the help of heavy airstrikes, they have advanced to Raqqa's eastern edge and are fighting inside the city for the first time.
We declare today the start of the great battle to liberate the city of Raqqa, the so-called capital of terrorism and terrorists.
Many civilians have already fled the city, but an estimated 200,000 remain trapped. Anyone living in Raqqa now faces the threat of airstrikes or the danger of being used as human shields. And here is a rare glimpse inside the city. We rarely get to see these streets. Despite regular airstrikes, they show a city still open for business, but one also prepared for the new dangers ahead. Sandbags line every house and business. In some neighborhoods, IS have set up sheets of canvas to shield their movements from aircraft. In Istanbul, we met 3 activists who say they have risked their lives to smuggle these pictures out of Raqqa. Abu Ahmed says the group are in constant contact with those still inside.
Wherever you go, there are tunnels. The city is on high alert.
The mood is of war, of preparing for street fighting.
Civilians have been hit hard by US-led airstrikes on Raqqa. Exact figures are hard to come by, but Abu Ahmed says no one inside the city is safe.
People inside are the ones carrying the burden. They're being shelled and children are in a terrible mental state. It's a city of death.
Fighting for the very survival of their self-declared caliphate, the odds are now stacked against IS. The battle is likely to be long and bloody as they hang on to their last stronghold in Syria.
Chukai Sports is next. We preview top of the ladder Hunters match against the Magpies this weekend and more. Stay with us.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The SPPNG Hunters have maintained their winning streak and still top the Queensland Intra Super Cup points ladder. They face fourth-placed South Logan Magpies at the National Football Stadium this Sunday.
The South Logan Magpies beat the Belly Bears 25 points to 12 last weekend. The SP Hunters are also coming off an impressive 40 points to 18 win over the Norths Devils. Coach Michael Marum has stuck with the same team lineup and has named Brandy Peter, Carol Kano Jr. and Lawrence Tu'u on the extended 20-man bench. 3 players will be omitted from the squad. This will be the second time both teams will meet this season. In their first meeting, the Hunters edged out Magpies 22 points to 20. It will be another thrilling match as both teams go at each other. The Hunters will hope for a win to maintain the #1 spot, while the Magpies will be looking to be placed in the top 3. The Magpies arrive in Port Moresby on Saturday before the 3 p.m. match on Sunday at the National Football Stadium. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
PNG Swimming Inc. through the World Swimming Body FINA will conduct a beginners level FINA water polo clinic for coaches in Port Moresby at the end of the month. The water polo clinic will coincide with the FINA World Aquatics Day to be held on the 1st of July.
Provide beginners coaching principles for water polo, including coach's role and responsibilities, child safety practices, discovering learning techniques, training groups management and delivery responsibilities. While the code seems to be competitive, it also helps the players to think, act, know the philosophy of the game, basic rules and positions for water polo, and fundamental skills development sessions. The interest is growing in water polo, with classes being held on Saturday afternoons from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Aquatic Centre. Water polo has shown it is an energetic sport with emphasis, swimming ability and ball skill over toughness. It is played by both men and women of all ages and abilities. Water polo is often the longest standing team sport in the Olympic Games, being introduced in Paris in 1900s. Played in over 100 countries, the sport is governed by FINA, the world body of aquatic sports. A water polo competition will be played at the Aquatic Centre on the 1st of July to celebrate the World Aquatics Day. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
To boxing, and the Bougainville Amateur Boxing Association has received a timely gift of 200,000 kina to host the national titles in Arawa come September. President Victor Seung thanked SP Brewery for promoting sportsmanship in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Fabian Hakalets reports from Buka.
It was a surprise gift on Friday, but one giving hope to the staging of the boxing titles to an island which for over years has produced some of Papua New Guinea's top boxers like John Abba, Henry Kunsi, Lindsay Pera, and now current Thaddeus Katwa.
But now I'm surprised now through that it's 200,000 kina. The budget that we did was actually below that. And I mean, thank you too much long as we all can come with that amount.
SP Brewery's primary objective is the long-term investment in the autonomous region of Bougainville, delivered in a more consultative approach for successful outcomes.
Throughout Papua New Guinea, I mean, Bougainville is the only region that they can hold their hand to the heart and say that boxing is sort of the national sport, or kind of semi. So it was a natural fit. It was a right fit that if we were to come back into the community in a big way, we would do something that was sort of close to the hearts of the people of Bougainville.
SP Brewery for the sponsorship. I understand that it's going to be a long-term one. We welcome that. We have some boxing clubs which have sort of been dormant for some time.
Not only does Aspi Brewery sponsor the boxing titles, but also provide a sense of awareness and advocacy to help address some of the social issues affecting community life.
We're going to really target this messaging head-on, using our brand and using sports to bring people together and educate people about it's not right to, throw punches outside of the ring.
This last sponsor all government them too that belong sponsor him fight as well, but he got another message where he address him some very issues where now Island Bayumi.
Meanwhile, preparations for the boxing titles are well underway, but before that, two associations will also host the fights for the selection trials.
There will be two tournaments happening in North, Lobuka, and Nala Wanlo, Buin. But the main tournament where Embakamap Arawa is the host association where by people hosting this national championship. We are on track. Planning now is come up in this.
In Buka, Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break with cricket and the Trukai Fun Run. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To cricket and the Hebo Shield First Class competition summed up day 2 of competition today. While the women's 40 overs division are taking a break from the first match yesterday between the Piranhas and the Diamonds, the men's division continued their 3-day series between the Diggers and the Hammers, which will see the decider tomorrow.
PNG Lawa Tanya Ruma's side toppled Pauke Siaka's Diamonds team by 4 runs in the first game of the Women's Hebo Shield competition played at the Bisini Cricket Ground. Winning the first toss, the Piranhas slowly but surely got off to a great start. The captain herself, Ruma, scored the opening 23 runs and was later equalled by teammate Helen Buruka to bring the score to a healthy 46 runs in the first 10 overs. Killer Frank then added another 20. The middle order contributed a similar number of runs that eventually saw them posting 104 runs inside 28 overs. The Diamonds responded in the second inning but failed to level up. Contribution of runs came from Lawa's skipper and Diamonds' current skipper Pauke Siaka but fell short at only 98 runs. Unfortunately, strong bowling action from the Piranhas sent the Diamonds off the field. The Diamonds will have another chance at redemption when they take on Sharks tomorrow at Amini Park again. Dina Rose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
Post PNG presented a cheque of 15,000 kina to the PNG Olympics Committee as part of their contribution toward this year's Trukai Fun Run. PNG Olympics Committee Secretary Alvita Rapila thanked Post PNG, saying funds will go toward helping Team PNG this year. The Trukai Fun Run will be held this Sunday.
Funds secured today from Post PNG will go towards helping Team PNG as they prepare for 3 big international events. Receiving the cheque of 15,000 kina from Post PNG Chief Operations Officer Ben Davies and his team was PNG Olympics Secretary Alvita Rapila and Team PNG representatives. Ben says apart from the many services they provide countrywide, Post PNG will continue to support Team PNG as they do each year by buying T-shirts for the Trukai Fun Run. Head of Sales and Marketing Vincent Cora says the Trukai Fun Run is not just an ordinary event, but an event used to help support our Team PNG athletes. He said while Trukai Fun Run is seen to be one of the biggest sporting events in the country, it also sends a message of living a healthier lifestyle. PNG Olympics Committee Secretary Rapila says funds generated from their partners, business houses and individuals will go to support Team PNG to accommodate athletes to the Youth Commonwealth Games, Mixed Martial Arts and Asian Indoor Games and the Mini Pacific Games. She said one of the biggest for the team will be the Mini Pacific Games after PNG led the medal tally in 2013 at Wallis and Futuna, and the team is expected to maintain their position this year. Rapila is encouraging those that haven't bought their T-shirts yet to buy one and be part of the event. T-shirts are going on sale in all Stop and Shop supermarkets, RH shops and Boroko Food World. The last day for final T-shirt sales will be at Waterfront Foodland this Saturday, where Cowboys Brent Tate and Matthew Scott will be signing autographs to every T-shirt purchased and will be joining the Trukai Fun Run on Sunday. Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, in the southern region, becoming cloudy with evening shower or two in Port Moresby, fine although partly cloudy and windy in Daru and Kerema, fine although partly cloudy in Kerema and evening showers in Popondetta. In the Mumasi region, some showers and possible thunderstorms, then cloudy in Lae, fine although partly cloudy in Medang, partly cloudy with a shower or two in Wewak and showers and thunderstorms in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, showers and thunderstorms in Lorengau, fine although partly cloudy in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and mostly fine in Buka. And in the Highlands region, cloudy with evening shower or two, then morning fog developing in all centres.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is this Wednesday, the 7th of June. From the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.